Less Traveled. I'm your host, Dolo. Today I'm really excited because this is the new season 2, and the first episode, which is a message that's going to focus on change. Change is the overall focus. And I will be referencing an audiobook by Ishiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. It's called The Courage to be Disliked. This is one of the more recent finds of mine. I really enjoy it. I want to say it's about 6 hours, 6.5 hours. And I'm at about 5. Completely loving it. Give it a try, give it a listen. But anywho, the message that I want to translate is why people change. I firmly believe that everyone can change. Everyone can find happiness. Everyone can switch up whatever they had going on, as long as they're here in this realm. There is no exception of a person. Everyone is capable of changing. So, I think it is a good place to start when you're realizing that you want something to be different about your life. Maybe something different about your routine. Maybe something different about your environment where you live. The people that you deal with on a consistent basis. Whatever changes that you're wanting to implement, you have to believe that you can make that change first of all. That's where it's all going to start. The belief that you actually can make that change. Wholeheartedly believe it. Not just saying, oh yeah, I can do it. But like when you go home at night and you're in your bed by yourself, like do you still feel like you can do it? And how assured are you that you can do it? Are you convinced that it's done? Or is it more like, I believe, I'm going to try, we'll see what happens. Big difference in those two presentations. Think about any obstacle or any delay that you had in the past when it comes to changing something. You wanted to change something, you didn't change it because. It is common amongst human beings to actually have what we consider to be a reason. And I was going to stop eating sweets. Then there was this huge birthday celebration, and there was like 3 cakes, 4 tiers of cupcakes, and a tray of candy, a tray of fruit. Like, what could I do? It was all just right there waiting for me. So, in a situation like that, of course, this is small scale, but you think to yourself, well, yeah, you still could have avoided it. You could have avoided it. It came down to whether or not you wanted to avoid it. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. I say it all the time. Just understand that your results are coming from somewhere. And it's one thing to say you're trying and actually make an effort. It's the whole thing to not even make an effort or try. So believing that you can is the first step. Once you have acknowledged that you want to do something, you know what it is that you want specifically, and you're going to take the first step towards it, you got to follow through. Why can't you? Why can't you? Ask yourself, why can't you? And no matter the situation, I promise you, some elements may be uncomfortable, undesirable, make it feel some type of way, but at the end of the day, you can. That's the answer to it. You can. We are beings, energy, streams of source here on this earth, just in this realm for, while we're here. That being said, what is literally stopping you? Oftentimes, people find themselves stuck in place because of something that happened in their life. There was a trauma, is what most like to call it. And occasionally there wasn't even a life event that happened. It was just a matter of being brought up in maybe a sheltered way, so you had no idea what it was actually like out here in the jungle. And either way, there is a reason as to why you don't believe you can, as to why you may think you can't. It may not be an upfront, obvious reason, but there is always a reason. Even, I often hear people say, well, you always ask why, but sometimes there's not really a reason for it. There's not an answer. Here's my thing. We may not know the reason. We may not ever understand it, but I guarantee you there is a reason. And a person like me gets a little curious. I'm sort of a philosopher. I wonder about outcomes and changes and patterns. I'm really curious about things like that. So it is what it is. But whether or not you ran into some sort of a trauma in your life, or you were the result of not knowing enough, maybe even the opposite, knowing too much. We have those parents that unload it all on their kids, like every single bit of it, forgetting that they are children. Their perspectives are a little different. There are vast differences in how we all are brought up and what we end up believing as a side effect of that. So if you don't initially think that there is anything that is, for instance, making you feel like that's the specific reason, just look at your overall stance in life right now. How you feel about yourself as an individual in life right now. What do you contribute the person you are today to, or who? Why are you who you are today? If you had to give one big reason of why you shaped up and ended up the way you are at this moment on this day, think about it. And when you identify that reason, you'll understand that that's a big source of your belief. So the message that I derived from the book, The Courage to Be Disliked, it was put in different words, so it's not verbatim, of course, but the gist of it is that if you were to give credit to one single event or even several events in your life, something that happened in the past, if you were to say that is why you are who you are today, then it would stand the reason that every single person that went through the same exact thing as you would be the way you are today. Now think about that for a second. This is not like a comparison thing because I'm not one to be into a comparison. I'm not into that. What it actually is you acknowledging if that were factually the reason why, then as a law of the universe, it just has to apply to everyone. Because the laws of the universe apply to everyone. They don't change. Again, this is something whether or not you believe spiritually that we are sources, energy here on earth. If you believe in the laws, so the law of karma, the law of attraction, the law of assumption, the law of gravity, if you believe in universal laws, when it comes to energy and the law of gravity, for instance, these are factual things, documented, well-documented things. And so it's not really up for debate whether or not that exists. So again, if this is the law of the universe, which applies to all beings, human beings, the animals are beings, the trees are beings. Long story short, if this is the standard law, because it does not change in this universe under God, the universe, source energy, it does not change. So why doesn't everyone have the same results as you? Why does everyone not have the same result? Everyone that went through that one traumatic event or something, even similar, why don't they have the same exact result? That would mean there should be no example of someone that went through with what you did and came out successful. There should be no example of that, because what you are arguing is that because that happened, you are stuck there. If we put focus on past events, things that are already gone, things that will not come up again unless you recycle the thoughts and the actions in your life, let the past things go. I'm not saying don't think about great memories, because when you're trying to get to your happy place, that's what you have to do. Pull out your best memories from the past. I'm not saying forget that it ever happened. What I'm saying is it really is irrelevant to your future. To say that you're not advancing in any aspect of your life because of something that happened even a minute ago is not progressing. It's not progressing. It's you being stagnant on purpose, sitting dormant because you are choosing not to move forward but to hold on to old memories instead, and to recycle those memories and ask them to happen again. If you were to say, well, this is what happened last time and this is what happens every time, or I cannot face that because this happened before, I cannot face that, I cannot do that, I am not capable because of that happened, remember. You're basically saying that your future is your past. That is literally all that you're agreeing to. And again, it's not a permanent decision. But if you are in that mindset that is what you are intending, to recycle your thoughts and your past actions and your past results, then you have already decided where you want to be. That is the roundabout of the whole situation. You have decided where you want to be. So if you want to change something and you're serious about it, long story short, you have to follow through. You have to face yourself, look at yourself, pull yourself apart, figure out what it is that's clogging you up and not making you feel whole. And then you get that out. Get it out. Write it down. Talk to someone about it. Talk to yourself about it. Get a journal. Like, whatever's the case, get it out and start fresh, because every minute after this minute right now is a new minute. We're not recycling minutes. And that's just, the minutes are just a symbol anyway, because time is energy. once again, I don't want to do too much right now because I'm still composing how I want to get these episodes going. But long story short, time is energy. Everything is energy. Money is energy. Everything about this world is about balancing your vibration. And the way you balance your vibration is where you vibrate at that time. Literally, just where you're vibrating at that time in life. You can change it at any moment. There's no way to live this correctly. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. As long as you are here... Keep that in mind that as long as you are here in this realm, it can change. Nothing is permanent. Remember that. One way to help yourself get into a routine where you are putting your foot down with yourself and making yourself stay on track in areas that you want to advance yourself, your personal goals. Wake up early enough to have some quiet time, some alone time, some uninterrupted time, and intend the way that you want your day to go. You speak it. Speak over yourself. Speak over your life. Speak the peace, the love, the positivity that you want to progress throughout your day. You speak that before you leave. Because like Abraham Hicks says, if you don't set your intentions, the world is going to set it for you. If you don't go ahead and plan out what's going to happen, you're just going to walk outside and kind of get slapped around by everyone else's intentions, and you don't know where you're going, just all willy-nilly. So wake up. Have a little quiet time. I'm into meditating. I don't know what you're into. Whatever you're into, have a little quiet time and set your intentions. You can say it in your mind. It's probably even better to speak it out loud because that is a vibration. You speaking is a vibration. And it is another effort in the direction that you want to go. Every positive word that you speak over yourself and or the people that you love is in the right direction. The positive momentum, we want to stay in that. We want to keep progressing and spreading love, really. Loving on one another. At least that's my goal. One of my goals. If you go ahead and look back at some of the previous episodes, I explained what manifestation was for those of you who are not already familiar. And I'm sure I'm going to visit again. I'm just not going to do it this episode. What I do want to mention this episode is that you can always look around in your life and point out things that you've manifested, things that you've asked for, no matter whom you've asked, whether you ask God, whether you ask yourself, whether you ask your mom, whether you ask your teacher. Like, what I'm saying is, you spoke it out. You either asked for it or you said you were getting it. You said that it was done. And pretty much look at it now, it's done. I'm sure everyone can find at least a few examples in their lives where they can look around you right now and just acknowledge things that you have, people that you wanted at one point. You seriously wanted, you yearned for, you asked for. Not that that's how you do that, because that's from a place of lack. If you're yearning for something, which I know now, if you are obsessive about something or you're yearning it and you're focused on not having it, your mind is in a place of lack, and you don't always get the best results that way. It's not that you can't manifest, because you can, but you don't always get the best results that way. So you want to make sure that you are, at the end of every day, balancing your energies, balancing yourself, balancing what you're feeling, balancing what you have learned, which again is only but so relevant because these minutes going forward are new minutes. This is new time. This is new stuff. You haven't been here before. You've never seen this before. You don't know about this. So, yeah, just stay focused. Focus on the things that feel good to you, the things that are going right. Always focus on the things that are going right, because I will tell you one thing, it is easy to get swept up in that whirlwind of things around you are going poorly, and then you hear people's thoughts and their opinions on things, and they're all being grim and pessimistic, and then it starts to rub off before you know it. And or it might coincide with that time of month, and so like you just get tripped up a little bit and don't understand why you're being grumpy and nasty, or why you're back to why you may be regressing in ways that you had already worked through. That happens to me sometimes, and I got to stop and check myself and say, okay, I'm unbalanced. Again, like I'm unbalanced. I got to figure out what's bothering me and get straight to it. So just a suggestion, stay balanced. Stay balanced with your inner being. Align yourself, because that is really what's going to carry you through all of this. You're the only person in that body. You have one spiritual guide inside of you, and it's just a matter of listening to it, really. One quote that I love is by Maya Angelou. Again, not verbatim. I'm terrible with doing quotes verbatim. And then I don't be trusting it anyway because there are so many sources. Like, who knows what that person actually said. Anywho, Maya Angelou said that we are all as blind as we want to be. And I feel that. I completely agree with that. I feel that we only understand and perceive up until our current beliefs. And a lot of us, without intending every morning, we get swayed around throughout the day. We end up stressed. Well, I'm sorry. In this case, I am saying we, but I really shouldn't be because I don't get swayed and I'm not stressed. I'm happier than I've ever been, lighter. I'm just, yeah. Long story short, it's easy to go ahead and get caught up in that current again. It's easy to backslide is what they say in church, or to regress is what an intellectual would say. But long story short, it's easy to take steps back at times, and that's fine because it's a vibration. You can change it at any time. You down right now, lift it up. Find ways to lift it up. What makes you happy? What are those happy thoughts? What effort can you make today towards what is your intention? You know? But you wake up and you set that, you design that, you decide that, you go out and you do it. And something you also want to make sure that you are monitoring when it comes to balancing, and I know I make an effort to do it, is to ask. Ask yourself when you're going to make a decision, when you are in a place where you're maybe unsure of your next step or something seems good, but you get that little tug inside and you're like, okay, why is this not an immediate yes? When you get in a place like that, stop and ask yourself, is this an immediate pleasure? Is this something that's just going to make me feel good right now and it's temporary? It could flop over because I know it's not foundationally strong within my spirit. It's not really something I care about, or I know I'm not in a rush for it. Whatever's the case, you ask yourself, is this for an immediate pleasure or is this for lasting results? What do I want? Do I want something just for right now, or do I want something that's going to last? I've been in phases where I wanted stuff for just right now. You know, in my younger life, I was all about that instant gratification. I really was. And I spent a big portion of my life being a workaholic. I spent a big portion of my life being a workaholic. I won't say it was a waste because none of it was a waste. But I have come very far from where I was. And every time I think about that, I love it. I love it so much. The overall message here is that no one experience, no one occurrence is the cause of your life in its entirety. You're this way because. No. You are who you want to be when you want to be that person. It's really that simple. In this society, there's a whole lot of trauma bonding where people sit and just gruff together, like just want to focus on the negative. I think it's great to, like, if you need to get something out, again, there are times to get it out. I'm all about listening. You want to get something out, go ahead, do it. But then there's like a cutoff. There's a point where you stop yourself and say, okay, did that, finish with it now. And now I'm going to think the happy thoughts. Now I'm going to point out everything that went positively in this situation, everything that came out flawlessly about this. And there's always much more that is going on positively and flawlessly than we as humans acknowledge. There's always much more going on correctly than it is incorrectly. It needs to be acknowledged because you got to think down to our individual body parts, our blood and our bones and our, like, all this stuff that we know is here, because there are so many different worlds within worlds that you don't have to wake up most of the time and focus on every single individual aspect of what's going on in your body. You know, there's so much that just happens, but you should wake up grateful. You should wake up appreciative. You should wake up in awe of everything that goes correctly. And then again, you intend before you leave your house, before you start talking to people, before you pick up your phone. Hey, if you struggling like right now and you trying to get straight to the point, then intend before you even go to the bathroom, you get out your bed. Intend immediately. Get up and decide how you want this day to go and speak it. Speak that it will go that way. You know, some things can be seen immediately and some things take a little time. That goes back to how much you're believing it on the inside, because again, this isn't really about this isn't about standing in the corner and telling your story. You know, this isn't the lip service. You got to be out here just saying it to look good. You can, you can, but then don't come back questioning why you're not actually getting thorough results if it's not coming from in here. You know, I'm just saying, because a lot of times, like, the law of attraction and manifestation is looked at as fantasy stuff or goofy woofy stuff. I've heard a bunch of nicknames for it, but long story short, it's often looked at as not factual in any way. But then you ask yourself, why would it be such an issue to try it then? Like, if it is just fairy tale, and what's the harm in trying it? And I'm not talking about techniques. I'm not talking about, necessarily like writing 10 times a day or burning somebody's baseball cap under your bed or something. Like, I'm just saying, making an effort in the right direction. A lot of times hippies and happy, perky people are made fun of because they seem delusional or out there, or as if they don't know what's going on. Too naive, too silly, too goofy. Part of that crew. And fine with it because I know better. But you also have to ask yourself, there are so many people that speak on this subject and they seem fine. You don't really hear the same devastation ravishing their lives. And that's not for everyone because, again, just like with anything, you got people out here just giving lip service and they don't really feel it on the inside. But for the most part, any hippie or any spiritual being or any natural being or mostly natural being or anyone who cares about the quality of this walk, look at how they're doing. Look at their results. Like, you can make fun of them until you blue in the face, but look at their results, because I'm looking and it look like they real good. Real good. It look like they good. I know I'm good. Do you see? Good. So yeah, once you've identified whatever it is that's kind of holding you back at this point, and there's always going to be something else in the way. There's always going to be an obstacle. There's always going to be some kind of a contrast, something that is disturbing the peace, I suppose. But again, the more you practice, taking that time out for yourself and intending, maybe meditating, yoga, whatever it is that you may be into, going for a walk, singing, dancing in the morning, whatever works for you. When you start setting that time out consistently, it becomes a habit, first of all, and it feels great. You do have 10 times as much energy. And I know you've heard that from other people, like your energy be up. And on top of that, when the contrast shows up, when things are happening that are outside of your grasp, outside of your control, and maybe a little disheartening to watch, because it doesn't affect you, but to watch, when those things show up, they're not normally as painful or as life-rocking, life-altering, or it's not the disaster that they were before you learn to love yourself thoroughly and act out your true being's wishes. And so also in the book, The Courage to be Disliked, it was said that events in your life, of course, have strong influence. I mean, that's a given. I think I might have mentioned in previous episodes that, your environment matters. The people they matter, obviously. The way you were brought up and the way you perceived things, the way you understood, you comprehended definitions, of course, it will have some influence. But you don't stay there. You don't hold on to it like it's a gem and keep it covered up and close here, right next to your inner being, when they trying to catch some air and you smothering them with this nonsense. Yeah, stop all that. Address it. Let it go. Move on. Unless, of course, you don't want longevity. Unless you don't want to be here a long time. If perhaps you don't have people that you care about and want to see progress later in life and spend time with. Maybe you don't have goals and stuff. And okay. Again, to each its own. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm simply here to spread the message. And I believe that the messages are beneficial, can be if you implement them. I'm sure you've heard it all the time. This life is what you make it. It really is what you make it. There are worlds inside of worlds inside of worlds here. I won't even go into it, but it's what you make it. Same energy and time is surrounding every being on this earth. It is what you make it. Do what you do. Nothing is stopping you. And things that you deem important, things that are important, special, relevant to your life, you have to comprehend that those things are only important, special, relevant to your life if you make them. Everything is only as important as you make it. Everyone is only as important as you make them. Remember that, including yourself. You're only as important as you make yourself. If you're not doing things to make yourself up front in your life, then you're not up front in your life. It's really, really that simple. Find that place. And that is not like, I'm not a part of the hyper individualism movement. I'm not saying screw everybody. What I'm saying is, spiritually, once you start to focus and develop your inner being, your connection with your inner being, your alignment with your inner being, keeping that balance as close as possible, as often as possible, you really get like magical type results. Everything else that you are no longer focusing on, giving so much energy to controlling and micromanaging, simply falls into place. That's my word, time and time again. It just falls into place. I am living proof. It's when you get to that tight spot where you're like, oh my goodness, like, I'm so far in. I can't just let go. I can't. Because, again, identify what your because is. But I just can't let go because ... That's the moment when you should realize the most. It's time to let go. That is that picture that you always see. There's a meme with a hand that's holding like a rope. And he's holding the rope so tightly that the hand is bleeding. It's getting cut. The rope is, obviously still pulling. It's completely pulled away from this person's hand, and this person is pulling. But you got to think about that. The rope is pulling and pulling, and this rope is hurting you so badly, cutting off your circulation, you're bleeding, you about to not have a hand. Why not just let go of the rope? Why not just let go of the rope? And those cuts that you were getting from holding the rope so tightly as it tried to leave your hand will heal. They will heal. And the sooner you let go, the sooner they will heal. Just so you know. I know that when it comes to change, it's exhilarating. It's exhilarating. I'm not going to lie, I'm not very fearful at heart. I've always been kind of a, well, give it a try because that's the only way we'll find out type of person. So I'm not fearful about a lot of things. Now, that's not saying I don't have a couple of things I'm working on, but I'm not fearful about a lot of things. And so I have spoken to many people, though, who've explained to me that fear is playing a big part in why they're not changing something. They're worried about the outcome becoming this or the outcome becoming that. But again, there comes a point where you ask yourself, is this what you came for? Like, is this a quality of life where you're micromanaging what could possibly happen if around every single corner? Like, there are so many outcomes and possibilities. You literally have no control over them. It is a matter of doing your part, believing and trying to stay aligned, allowing things to fall into place, because either you believe that you have control over everything on this earth or you don't. I don't believe you do. I believe you create your personal world. I believe that nothing can penetrate your world if that's what you are giving out. That's what you're intending. That's what you're following through with your world. Any other world that is opposite or destructive to your world does not make rounds in your neighborhood, long story short, in your galaxy. That world does not come close to your world because you're doing what you're supposed to do with your vibration. You're vibrating in different areas, completely different areas. So keep that in mind. Your focus is you. Your focus is you. At the beginning of every day, at the end of every day, your focus is you. And the more comfortable you get with doing that outwardly and inwardly, you will just continue to be blessed, less stressed. Things will flow. You will be going downstream, as Abraham calls it. Downstream with the river. which is the opposite, of course, of upstream, in which case you are struggling to make your way up and the river's pushing you back this way. We want to go downstream with the river. Indeed. So, a way to identify whether or not you are maybe hesitating on changes, dragging your feet, having cold feet, whatever's the case, a way to identify that is to look at how you set your dates, for instance. Now, true things in life take planning, but if you are someone who tends to set your dates for events like a year or two ahead of time, just the far off dates, is given hesitation. Okay, it is dragging your feet, and that's not to say that people don't follow through and get those dates done. Again, there are different levels to this. We're talking different monies, different mindsets, different efforts. But long story short, if you're someone that's struggling with the way your life is going right now, or any aspect of your life is a struggle, or you're questioning what you want to change, then you are who I'm speaking to. Basically, like one way to find out whether or not you have a resistance to changing would be to look at your own track record. Do you set far off dates that you don't actually follow through with? Do you cancel a lot of plans? Do you always have a reason as to why you didn't? A reason. Again, a reason and an excuse are two different things to me. From your perspective, do you feel like you normally have a reason as to why something didn't get done? Are you in denial about your current status and options? And by that, don't get me mistaken. There is a certain level of denial, I think, that is awfully healthy. I've been called delusional a few times, and truth is, I'm not really offended by it, because as delusional as I am, it's really working wonders for me. I'm not mad at it. So, I mean, you can call me whatever you want. It don't make me that person. What I answer to is what matters. Call me what you want. Another one is self-doubt. Again, this is going to stem from somewhere you may not initially know from where, but backtrack a little bit. Figure it out. Write down some ideas as they come to mind, things that frustrated you or are frustrating you, or things that often come to mind. Write it down, figure it out, work through it. And I promise you, a little bit of quiet time in the morning, a little bit of speaking aloud that love and that intention is going to make a difference. It will make a difference in less than a week. I'm going to tell you now, if you're actually following through and being consistent with it, it'll make a difference. But that's where you open your heart and don't just rely on what you know as having worked in the past or having done in the past. Like, don't come at it that way. You need to come at it very open-heartedly, ready, willing, genuinely attempting, because that makes a difference. There are going to be different periods in all of our lives where sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, sometimes we are floating somewhere in the middle. Sometimes we're going, sometimes we're coming, and there are different phases, stages in life. And so you always want to keep in mind, again, that it can change. You change it. You change it, starting with the smallest of any change you can make. You change it. Because it is absolutely able to change at any moment, whatever it is. And I mean whatever it is. Okay? I have my own stuff. So there will also be periods where, I know I go through periods where I'm looking at so many, I'm reading so many books, I'm listening to so many audiobooks, I am researching so many things that my mind is like, my mind is a little bit everywhere, and so I just be going, and I'm doing stuff constantly, and so with that being the case, it is perfectly acceptable. Like, if it's acceptable for you, it is acceptable for me. Perfectly acceptable for me to put stuff down sometimes. Like, I get to kind of a burnt out place where I've been too inquisitive, I've been too curious, I've been too active, I guess. And so, there are times where I'm just like, okay, Dolo, you need to chill, like, because you're getting on my nerve. You're getting on my nerve. So at times like that, I sit back and relax. I try not to think about it. I might put on, some good music. I listen to all kinds of music. What has worked in my favor sometimes is doing that, putting it down and walking away. With me, I can learn how to do something and I'll be into it, for a little while, and then I can put it down and put it away. And when I come back, the thing about it is there is that new perspective. I'm still remembering what I learned before, and I'm finding and thinking of new ways to implement it. And what I was doing before I put it down, it becomes so much easier to me. And actually, I just made that an unintentional analogy because it reminds me of I used to be a Christian a long time ago. I used to be like going to church, making my effort, Bible study Christian, and my beliefs have changed in that aspect. However, what I will say is it was pretty much like that, where I put the Christianity down, and then when I came back and started taking my spirituality seriously, things started connecting in ways that I wasn't looking at it the first 500 times around, because I try stuff. I'm good at trying stuff, and wholeheartedly, like I'm. Oh my goodness, I love to learn. But in any case, I love to learn. I love to experience. I love to live this life, enjoy this life, feel this life, feel this life. I do. And so, every time I learn a lesson or learn any knowledge or experience something, I'm not keeping these like filed and on this date such and such is when I learned this, and that's how I'm going to apply it here. It's not so much as organized like that with me. It is, I had a good experience. This is what I remember of that experience. This is how I'm going to implement it. And that's how I look at it. And I don't look at the bad experiences as relevant, as something I need to go back over if I had a bad experience. Either I don't go that way again. That's usually it. I don't go that way again. But when something hasn't gone my way, and back when I recall back when I used to have a lot of contrast and a lot of static, a lot of resistance in my life, it was because I was so resistant. I was so resistant. And it's because I've gone through a lot of periods where I was very stagnant. I was complacent, comfortable, regressing. Yeah. Lots of different stages and periods, ups and downs, back and forth, balancing. It was all relevant. I can clearly see where everything applies so far, and it excites me to find out where it's going. And over decades, I've been asking for clarity. I always want more clarity because I love understanding. I love being in tune with what exactly is going on, and not so much as a fraudulent or a show, or I'm not into fake things. I'm into the deepness of this life. And so I follow what interests me. I live what interests me. I love what interests me. I am what interests me. I make a living with what interests me. And so I just want to say that if you're serious about advancing yourself in any way, whatever that looks like for you, if you're serious about growing more emotionally competent, whatever it is, like, I'm all for it. I'm here to support you. I'm here to answer questions if I can be helpful in any way. And just understand that it is okay to be whoever it is that you are at all times. Like, just be yourself. There is no list. There's no right way that this has to be done. You are here to enjoy this experience, so do it. If you feel like you've outgrown a space, get about that space. If you don't fit there anymore, stop trying to shove yourself into there. This is something I'm actually pretty good at. I've always been pretty good at that. If I start feeling too uncomfortable, too unwanted, too unappreciated in a space, and I know that I've been clear about my communication, then it simply means, it's not the space for me anymore. I don't belong there anymore. It's really that simple. And so I'm very good about getting up and leaving a space, because at the end of every day, I have to feel comfortable. I have to feel settled. I have to feel like satisfied with what I'm doing with my time here. And I am a quality over quantity person. I'm not a materialistic person by nature. Don't get me wrong. I like the finer things in life. Don't get me wrong. I can love some quality product, but I'm not about that. And when it comes to decisions between humans and product, like, I'm always for the humans. Even if I can't stand the humans, and occasionally that's the case, I'm working on it, but I'm always for the humans. Complete humanitarian. Humanitarian. Complete humanitarian. That is me. So, yeah, it's been a pleasure sitting with you as usual. I appreciate you coming. Don't forget to subscribe. Send me an email if you have questions. On the podcast, I have a question up check out the podcast. Maybe go ahead and send your answer. That'd be nice. And yeah, real ones, stay real, be great. Don't accept the hate, and never surrender to the pretender. Dolo out.